G'day everyone, how you going? It's Dom Italiano here, host of the Sustainable Creative Show. This is episode number 12 with Emma Yarosh. Emma is someone I met a few years ago through my good friend Simon Emery, and she is a singer, songwriter, guitarist, Victorian College of the Arts graduate, and a guitar teacher with 1 billion students. She has a great attitude on being a sustainable creative, but also I love her perspective on always being open to learning new things. So I hope you enjoy this chat. Next week will be episode 13 with Mitch Power. I look forward to presenting that to you. And in the meantime, enjoy this, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Emma. Emma Yarosh.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Welcome to this episode of the Sustainable Creative Show, which I seem to be able to sustainably continue to get other people to let me do it at their house.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to my parents' house.
Yeah, I love it. I love your parents' house. Oh, we haven't got the
the dog.
the British flag type dog. Actually, I'm going to get it.
Get it. I've got more upstairs. I have so many Union Jack things.
And so, let me ask you about that. What is the isn't this cute? It's the doorstop.
Yeah, doorstop.
Yeah.
And I've got a long doorstop as well. And I have one at Simon's house.
Oh, cool. What's the significance of the Union Jack flagged things in your family?
I actually, I don't know. Maybe Harry Potter, because that was set in London.
Well, in the UK. Yeah.
In the UK.
Yeah.
Maybe it stemmed from that. I don't know why I like it so much, but it's just appealing to my eyes.
So are these your acquisitions in the house?
Yep. That and miniature perfumes.
Right. Now, this is cool. I'm going to ask you about this because when I got here to your house, I was like, it's a beautiful house. It's beautiful. This is actually parquetry floor. And one of the first things you said is like, check out my mum's collection of miniature stuff. And she's got this whole amazing cabinet full of tiny little shoes and little tea sets and stuff like that. And I noticed that you, when I say I notice, only now I notice that you collect themed things as well. Yeah. So it's like,
it's passed down from generation.
It is, but is your dad not also quite an accomplished guitar player and teacher?
He is.
So you have like acquired or not acquired, inherited, maybe both.
Yep.
Or decided to take on like something from both parents.
Exactly.
Avidly.
Yes, my mum's a nurse, so I definitely didn't inherit that because I hate anything blood related, anything gory. I can't look on TV. Like when there's the smoking ads and they show the gangrene and all that stuff.
Or the lung.
I can't do that. And then like the camera down the esophagus, can't do that. But yeah, so that's what I think inherited from my mum. Yeah.
That's great. I think it's nice to have. How's this for a wacky concept? I think it's really nice to have an external collection of things. And what I mean is a lot of people collect things, whether it's ideas or problems or whatever, but it's inside them, and to have something which is like to curate outside of yourself, which is incidentally a lot of what I think songwriting is, or just creating musical things. Yep. It's like it's an external curation of ideas.
Absolutely right.
And I think that's really, really helpful. It's like keeping a diary. It's for people like footy cards and things like that, where train collecting things. It's like when you can focus solely on something and have it as a thing that you know a lot about. I think that's really. Actually, think that's really healthy. And some people stamp collecting, all that kind of stuff. Doll collecting.
Yep. Another one of mine is shoes and boots.
Right. I've a friend of mine that I play with, Geordie. He wacky sneakers.
Wow.
Like he's got like dozens and dozens of pairs of sneakers. He will wear every now and then, but they're all wacky ones. They're not they're like just standard sneakers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he doesn't go shoe shopping, but he's always looking for something that's different.
And that's I feel like I love shopping, but I'm always looking for something. There's always something on my list in my phone that I'm like, I'm looking for this particular, I don't know, pair of jeans or this particular thing. Yeah. So most of the time for gigs, but sometimes not as well.
Yeah. I was in like to take to wear to a gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that's inherent in our idea as human beings to explore things we don't know anything about. So whether it's to go to foreign lands or to farming and you know, being a shepherd and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, it seems to me that that's quite a normal thing to do.
Absolutely.
And it's, as you say that, even in our kind of modern time, a lot of people go, that's a bit wacky. Even though it's everyone's got something like that.
Yes, totally. Whenever I have this one pair of boots that's like, they're beige, but they have, you've seen the ones.
I know, they're fantastic.
I know
the ones, yeah.
And they like, when I walk, they clink, but everyone always is like, love your shoes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
cool.
my friend Sarah, who I do gigs with, Sarah Tonner, she has this purple suede, and they've got like embroidery on them. They're works of art.
Amazing.
And I said to her, I was like, were they expensive? And she said, I can't even come to say the number out loud. And I said, but they are remarkable.
Yeah. Exactly.
I love it. These conversations I'm having with people tend to go off on tangents and whatnot, and that's totally cool.
Yep.
Because what they really are intended for is for you and I just to talk about stuff that we might not get to talk about with other people or even with each other, because of the nature of what we do, which is, you know, music at times when other people are at home or being sociable in other situations.
Exactly.
So, as I come to understand it, you teach guitar, and do you teach singing?
No, because I'm not a trained singer.
Oh, right.
Because I'd love to teach it, but I find that a whole different world. I've just started taking singing lessons for the first time because I don't want to say I'm self-taught, but I sort of am.
You're someone who has a voice.
Yeah, but I've kind of just sung, how do I say this? I've never gotten lessons before until now. So I've just started getting lessons. I've had about 3, and the stuff that I've already learned is insane. Like everything about what's inside here, it's difficult. I don't know. I find that I think it would be one of the hardest things to teach is singing, because it's not a mechanical, put your finger here, you know, you have to it's all
internal and conceptual. Whereas when you've got an instrument, much like we were just talking about at the start, it's externalized. Yeah. So, you know, you can go, all guitars that have frets work like that if you tune them that way.
Yeah, exactly.
If you tune them differently, they work differently. But so all pianos are that.
Yep.
But all voices slightly different, because all kinds of facial things are different too.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about that, as someone who is a studied and accomplished guitar player, and an adult, going to something that you're effectively a beginner at, because although, you know, you've got a wonderful voice, it is a voice where you just go, I've always just sung.
Yes.
And so now I'm digging into the nitty gritty and almost approaching it studiously like you do with guitar playing. I found that when I did that, the amount of unlearning I had to do was so difficult. I wouldn't say bad habits, but just it's so habitual to do something like talk and sing.
Totally.
And then when you go, I need to refine this, you're like, oh God, do I do that? Oh,
Yeah. It's been overall like a really positive thing. I think if I did singing lessons a couple of years ago, I would have been frustrated with myself, because I would have been like, why didn't I start this earlier? Why don't I know this already? But now I'm so fine with the fact that I'm effectively a beginner at singing. So I need to and because I really want to work on technique and specific things. So yeah, I think it's like I'm really enjoying it so far, which is good.
Who are you doing?
Nina Ferro.
Well, yeah.
And she's phenomenal. When she demonstrates things, I always have goosebumps because she's amazing.
Yeah, and she is very much someone who has a great command over her voice as an instrument.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well as just, there's that, my mum always says something like, when she watches a great singer, she says, oh, they make it look so easy.
Yeah.
And I mean, you find the same thing when you look at a professional sports person.
Totally.
How do you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do really make it look so easy. And the thing with Nina is as well, in lessons, she makes you feel so comfortable. Like the second I walked in, like one of the things, and I heard Brooke say this as well about Nina, that she gets you to just sing in a really Australian accent. Like you're at the footy. and just like an 8-year-old Australian yelling at the footy. And it's the most ridiculous thing, but you just do it because she makes you feel really comfortable. So it's, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Can I ask you about that? Because I find... So is that as a exploring your voice without the pretense of stylizing it to, you know, rock or, you know, jazz or whatever?
Absolutely. Because...
So throwing away your idea of, I've listened to these things so many times, I think that's how it should sound, but I don't actually make noises like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because, obviously, because I've been doing gigs, I have my own way of singing.
Yeah.
And things I don't even think about when I sing. What am I trying to get at here? Yeah, exactly what you were saying. You just have to throw away your preconceived, stylized things that you do just to try and hit the notes. And you kind of, like, she got me to sing a phrase of, I don't know, I can't remember what song it was, sing it how I normally sing it. And there's this one note that I kind of always struggle with. But then as soon as I did it in that accent, it's easy.
Right.
Like, much easier, I should say, to get it. So, yeah, it's interesting how it works.
Oh, I'd like to... I think you know what's going to happen over the next 6 months is, as I have a chat with different people and suddenly discover that Nina is also their singing teacher.
Yeah.
She's like, what's going on? All these people like, all these people
Are they sponsoring me? Nah.
No, that's really cool way of doing it.
Yeah.
I noticed that people who do come up and have a chat always say, you to me, like, your singing reminds me of Neil Finn, Jack Jones, Rick Price. Of course, all of those guys are huge influences on me, even to this day. People who I love to listen to. Very, very pure voices, not the Eddie Vedder type. What I consider, I'm not saying that he's got a contrived vocal style, but even those guys, when you hear those guys speak, their singing tone is a lot like their speaking tone.
Yeah.
I don't sing like those guys. I don't actually have my phrasing's not a lot like them, but there is, I think when people say, oh, you remind me of, that's what they're latching onto.
It's like a tone thing. Yeah. I always get Norah Jones, everyone. And I don't really listen to her very much, but people always send it to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of... we were talking before we recorded this about when non-musicians talk to musicians. And, of course, the natural thing for anyone to do with everything ever is to try to find a comparison, so that, because what our brains do with everything is we try and sort things into categories so that we don't have to, I guess we don't have to have an infinite amount of categories for stuff. So like we assume everything with 4 legs is an animal. Yeah. Which then we see a table and go, oh, actually.
Wait a second.
Right, so that's furniture.
Yeah.
So we like, you know, we sort of go, we look at the different caveats of things and go, oh, right, well, that's different. But we do it with music all the time. We always say to people, well, musicians don't really do it with musicians, but non-musicians say, oh, you remind me of this.
Yes.
And occasionally that hurts.
Yeah,
go,
absolutely. Really?
I hate that person. Yeah. Which is rare. Like, it's rare for a musician to really dislike another artist.
Sometimes.
But it's sometimes you go, oh, okay.
Thank you.
Because I have been... it was funny. I had a chat with a friend of mine the other day, Andy Pobjoy, and we were talking about James Blunt, and people have said James Blunt to me, which I find I don't understand where you go with that. No. Is it because I'm funny? Like, it must be because I'm funny, because he's really funny. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of funny one.
I got one the other day where this guy said to me, look up this singer from Ireland. I can't remember what her name was now, but he said, you kind of remind me of her. And then sometimes it's nice like that when people say, you remind me of this person, and you've never heard of them before, and then you go to listen to them and you're like, oh, cool, I found someone new to check out. Yeah. Yeah.
It's also nice when they say, you remind me of someone who is my favourite singer. And
yes.
Well, that's nice. I like to remind you of someone you like.
Yes, exactly.
Because I always make that joke. It's like, do you like Crowded House? And they go, no, I fucking hate Crowded House. And then you go, are you being... Oh, you are being funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does happen. But it's normal. It's very normal to be compared.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've always found, interestingly, my perception of the Australian accent to me doesn't sound anything like the Australian accent. Like the way they, artists you have, they go, oh, he or she sings in an Aussie accent, just like, yeah, I have one when I talk. We don't talk like that.
Yeah.
It's contrived.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess much like, well, I say it's contrived. It's like there's not a lot of people that sound like that, so I don't know where they've learnt it from.
Yeah.
Whereas it makes sense that we learn our Americanized tone because of just how prevalent it is.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
singing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you good at accents? Are you good at?
Some accents, yes.
Yeah.
Like I love doing accents sometimes.
Yeah.
But only if I'm comfortable with the people that I'm doing
Okay.
it to. Like Borat accent, that's one of my favorite.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
what Kazakhstan accent.
Well, I don't know if it's actually the Kazakhstan
If it's actually,
accent,
it's probably
but I
not.
think it's.
Yeah.
I find that lots of people who sing are very good at accents.
Yeah.
Or at least play around with different voices
Yes.
a lot.
And if I'm in a silly mood, I'll do accents left, right, and center.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I find it really entertaining. Like
Yeah.
I find it funny when people do accents. It's one of
Yes.
my favorite types of humor, which is like Simon always does accents.
Yeah, he's great at it.
So
yeah.
hilarious. Yeah.
Simon, for anyone listening to this who hasn't listened to Simon Emery's episode, you should listen to that one too. Don't think he does any accents in that one. It's a very serious, it
really?
was a serious conversation.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. He and I do that. Like we're like very much aligned in our ability to be super serious and
Yeah.
be
It's
nuts.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
like it's insane. You
Yes,
two having a conversation.
Yeah, I apologise on our behalf for future conversations and past ones. So let me ask you about having. Okay, so I'll preface this with, my mum is a beautiful singer. Wasn't not a professional singer or anything like that, but she has a wonderful voice, and has always sung all the time. And music was in my childhood a lot, but neither parents were musicians, and so I guess the difference between you and I is that your dad is a musician. Like, so what's it like having a parent that's a musician? Because I like, you know, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was younger, because I'd always see my dad play, and because he used to do a lot of gigs at Russian restaurants.
Yeah.
And like I'd always be dancing and stuff. It's good. Like, how do I say this? Like it was interesting. How do I? Sorry, I'm not making any sense. I'm trying to formulate what I'm trying to say. Hold on.
All right, so you can continue to look over there if you
Okay.
want. we were talking about this before we had a chat. It's like how come when we always look somewhere away from the person we're talking
Yes.
to when we're trying to work out what we're trying to say? So interesting that you said dance, because I know that through your childhood into late high school, you did professional
Gymnastics.
Well,
Yes.
Well, high competition gymnastics.
Yeah.
So when you said you would dance when your dad would play guitar.
Yeah.
So that kind of gymnastics too, like floor routine stuff.
Yeah, like all rhythmic gymnastics. So
Right, so
ribbon,
with
hoop,
music.
all that. Yes.
So
yes.
so music, even with that, is a real
Yeah.
part of your, I guess, your childhood development and whatnot. So you would spend, I would say, I would imagine that stuff's countless hours, even weekly, throughout your younger years.
Yeah.
Going to those kind of classes.
Yeah.
So when did you pick up the guitar as a going concern? Because maybe you played around with it because there was guitars lying around the house.
When I was little, I remember this quite clearly. When I was, I think, 5 or 6, I got a guitar for my birthday.
Yep.
And I wasn't expecting it because my parents, and my mum used to film me all the time when I was little. Like we have hours and hours of home videos.
I don't think you actually have a VHS in the house.
No, we need to convert them because we've got stacks of VHS, but I don't even think we have. No, we do have a video player, but we need to convert it to a DVD.
Yeah.
But
You're right at the perfect age, almost 25, where the technology became cheap enough for everyone to have a video camera to go bang, bang, bang.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, so for your childhood to be on.
Exactly.
Do you have siblings?
No.
You're only child as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I had, like, my family's quite close. like we live all on the same street.
I have a new dog, by the way.
So my grandma lives across the road
Cool.
with my uncle. Then next to them is my auntie and uncle and my cousin.
Yeah.
So my cousin and I are really close.
Right.
So he's sort of like a brother, but only child. So we were talking about when I was little.
You got your first guitar when you were 5 or 6?
Yes. Yeah. So, and then there's a video of my parents saying, "What do you think you got for your birthday?" It's in this massive box, and I'm like, "I don't know." And then my dad's like, "It starts with a G," and then I'm like, I said something completely different. And then my mum's like, "What does your dad play?" And I said, "Guitar." And then she's like, "So what have you got?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Anyway, I was so weird about it. And then I got it out and I was kind of like, "What is this? What do I do?" But I didn't really play when I was little.
Yeah.
I think my parents might have tried to, but I wasn't really taking to it until I was turned 14. So I started pretty late.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I was 12, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I teach kids who are 5 and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And they're so little and adorable and they're little guitars. So I started when I was 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before that, I did drums for about 6 months. We had an electric drum kit and then I gave up on that. I did a little bit of piano, but not for very long, I think. So I started when I was 14 and then I did VCE music through school. I did 2...
So you started when you were 14 and within literally 2 years you're doing VCE music?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So it was pretty quick, like, because my dad, like, he started out playing rock, but then transitioned to jazz. Like, he still obviously plays everything, but he's very big on theory. And so he would teach me music theory on the way to and from school. So that's how I learned all my modes and stuff. And so I'd have that like all in my brain. And then after school, I'd have to,
Was he your guitar teacher?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Cool.
So he taught me pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So I had teachers all throughout uni and school as well, but he was the main main teacher. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's a great resource.
Yeah.
That's amazing that you went from, within 2 years to be able to study VCE.
Yeah, I think
Are you a bit like that though in your ability to kind of just focus, go, that's what I'm doing right now?
I am now, but back then, the thing that got me through, like when I was younger, and I'm similar now, I got things pretty quickly, but then I didn't practice as much as people who might have taken a bit longer to understand something.
Yes.
So I think, I just kind of grasped things quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense when you talk about the gymnastic stuff as well, like your, from an early age, the ability to like memorize a routine.
Yeah.
Like, and see the pattern in stuff.
Yep.
And understand that this is how we put a set of things together for a period of time, which is exactly how you learn music.
Yes, absolutely.
And being able to identify, like the idea of modes, the idea of, taking a major scale, modifying it slightly, it becomes something else. And then that becomes something else, that becomes something else.
Yeah.
And then creating chords, like 2 notes, 3 notes, 4 notes, and then extensions. Those kind of things. For me, when I look at dance or gymnastics or something, I see process.
Yeah.
Because I'm a musician, and I imagine it's interchangeable. So I guess it makes sense that you're able to, not just because you had someone who knew what they were teaching you and knew what you were working towards, and your dad as a teacher, but you had a really good grounding of that. And I think kids who are learning, who have one of those things, they see patterns in the next thing really well.
Yeah.
Whereas kids that don't study music or do dance or something like that find, or adults that don't do anything like that find music or dance captivating and bizarre. Like, what a strange world. It's because they don't have those that, I guess, mechanistic approach to this, then this, then this, then this.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I had a student the other day who I've only just started teaching him, probably for about, I think he's had about 8 lessons or something, probably even less. And he loves Ed Sheeran, and he said, I'll never be able to play Ed Sheeran, it's so hard. And I said, nah, it's not too bad. Like, it's just 4 chords repeated most of the time. I don't want to generalize, but a lot of the time it is. So it's really interesting to hear things like that.
I did a teaching degree in 2015, and I was really, I loved it. Like, I loved doing the teaching and I loved being with the kids, but the way schools were kind of bothered me a bit. But one teacher So I tried to give the kids the idea, because of course when you in year 7, lots of places, particularly government schools, they have 13 weeks of music or 12 weeks of music, and then you go to drama, and then you go to something else.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at it like, do you know what I would do if I got to do this curriculum? I would put a ukulele on a book list, right, and say, right, by the time these 13 weeks are up, you're all going to be able to play like 150 songs.
Yeah.
With the idea that if you learn these 4 chords and put them in different orders, you've got all these songs.
Yeah.
Because the idea, what you want to be able to do is foster the understanding that anybody can play music.
Totally.
Not everyone can be virtuosic, right? But almost no famous musicians are anyway.
Yeah.
What the famous musicians are, like the Ed Sheerans, they've assailed the walls of what do I need to do to be able to do this.
Yeah. Yep.
Very well. And that's there's almost something as well, like even for the competent musicians, like I feel like I'm a competent musician, but even I can look at the virtuosos and go, I get it, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not
Totally.
like I'm not at that level.
Yeah.
Even in the ability to understand the concepts.
Absolutely.
But the stuff that we all like the Ed Sheeran kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Actually anyone can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an interesting idea because I teach I only started teaching groups this year. Groups of ukulele and guitar.
Yeah.
So from grade 4 to 6, and I get it every single week. Someone will say, "Oh, I'm not good at this," or "Why is so and so better than me?" And I said, "You can answer that yourself. It's all down to practice. There's no such thing as talent." Like I understand.
Oh, I love that you said that.
Yeah, because
in my experience at school, when I did these classes, I had a teacher say, "But if you want to be a good musician, you have to have talent." I said, "Oh, dude,
No.
it's a process."
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I understand a kid being musical. Like when I was little, I remember this one random thing, just as an aside. Remember that Harvey Norman ad? The Go Harvey Norman, go.
Yeah.
That one. That was playing on TV. I think I was about 4. And I heard that ad and then I just sang it afterwards. And then my mum's like, "Emma, what are you singing?" And my dad's like, "Yes, she's a musician." But I would just copy things all the time.
Because you could pitch it.
Yeah. Obviously, I didn't do that before very well, but anyway, I could pitch it, and I'd things like that. But that's probably because I was surrounded by music. Like my auntie's an opera singer as well, and so every birthday, every birthday we'd have my dad and my auntie singing, and my dad would be playing, and then music was just always all around. So I think that influences a child to see if they'll be more competent, I suppose. But anyone can learn.
You say that, back to my mum, who's just the biggest legend ever, but she loves those talent shows, that are on TV, and she always, not always, but occasionally, she'll bring up something. There's some 7-year-old girl who sings some opera thing, and she's like, "Oh, she's so gifted." And I'm like, maybe she's just been singing since she was 2, and that's 5 years of singing.
Absolutely.
And maybe she only knows 2 songs.
Yeah.
And she's gotten so good at mimicking, because that's what kids do. That's how we learn anything. We observe behavior in other people, and we acquire that, and we cherry pick that, and that's how we learn our social skills. But we also learn our other behaviors like singing, and maybe she's done that. Maybe and of course then she can sing.
Yeah.
And the next step is to add a 3rd piece of music, and a 4th, and a 5th. And,
exactly.
Which I do have a question about that before you. Shortly. So let's get back to you. So you started when you were sort of 14.
Yes, 14.
And then, I guess, then what's that, year 9? Yeah.
Yes, year 9.
Or
so
like if you're in America, 9th grade.
9th grade. So I started when I was 14. The first thing my dad taught me was a pentatonic, A minor pentatonic. And then I learnt a few. Like the first thing I learnt were some Deep Purple solos, not the riff, but the solos.
Yes.
So that's the first thing that I learnt.
So
I didn't start. I didn't
Yeah.
start from like chords, which I think is smart, because I used to, when I first started teaching, the first thing I taught was chords. But then I'm like, that's you have to move 3 or 4 fingers at once. Impossible, and you won't be able to get a song for a while. So single note's the way to go, I think. But anyway, learnt some solos and things. Then I did VCE music units 1 and 2, I think I did in year 10. And then I did a 3-4 subject in year 11, and then music investigation in year 12.
Right.
And then after that, so end of year 12 was when auditions were for university.
Yeah.
So I don't think at that point I knew what I wanted exactly to do. But I remember my dad asked me, well, what do you like? And I said, something within the arts. So whether that be dance, I like drawing as well, but I didn't really do that as much as gymnastics, dance, and music. And then we kind of said, it's not really sustainable for me to do dance when I wasn't a trained dancer. Like I went from gymnastics to dance, so It's a different sort of thing. So he said, you should try and do music. And I'm like, okay. So then I got some songs together, like kind of jazzy stuff, because it was auditioning for Monash and VCA. So I got those songs together, had some auditions. I remember my VCA audition, my pickup wasn't working. Like my front pickup wasn't working, so I had to use my back pickup and it sounded horrendous. Anyway,
Did you have a tone knob on the guitar?
What's that?
Did you have a tone knob on the guitar?
Yeah, and it's just like that just wasn't working.
Didn't work.
Yeah, and then like they got another amp for me, and then it wasn't the amp, and then we realised it was pickup. Anyway, but that was the uni that I'd gotten into, which was bizarre.
Don't worry, I got into Melbourne Uni playing classical guitar.
Wow,
Yeah.
did you really?
I got asked to leave
Why?
because I'd failed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I didn't. Yeah, I was invited not to come back. I was at the end of the year. The dean called me to his office, and it was lovely to me.
Yeah.
But it was a big year, and it was hard, and I had carpal tunnel issues because,
Oh
of course,
my gosh, yes.
I wasn't actually a classical guitar player, and I was trying to catch up to people who were at university standard.
Yes.
And it was just way too much for me.
Yeah. Uni is really hard. Music uni is.
And I had to work.
Yeah.
Like, I had to have a job.
Yep.
And the other guys, not all of them, of course, some of them had to work as well, but there were a couple of guys. When I say guys, like, guys and girls.
Yeah.
I use guys
That's
collectively. We
right.
often do.
Yes.
But they were wonderful guitar players, and they were there to study
Yeah.
all the time. That's what they did. They didn't have to go in any money. They had I don't know where they got funded to eat from, but someone paid
Who
for
knows?
it. It wasn't
Yeah.
them. And that was the case actually through all of my tertiary study, where some people were able to live at home, and because my family lives 100 k's from Melbourne, like that wasn't practical.
Yeah.
But so I understand that idea of your audition either goes well and you get in and flop, or it doesn't go well and they go, we can see that you can play.
Yeah. So
which is what they
luckily,
did. They went,
yeah.
Your faulty pickup doesn't affect the fact that we know that you can do what we need you to do. Yeah.
Actually, quickly on faulty pickups. Last night I had the school that I teach at. It was their school concert, and I had one student perform, and I was just playing chords while she was playing the melody, and there's something wrong with her pickup, but she just kept going like it was nothing. I was very proud.
That's cool.
But because it's so easy to think about something like that and then be distracted, but she just went through and played it, so it was awesome. Back to uni. So that was a 3-year course. It's a weird world.
When did you finish that course?
2014.
Right.
So 2012, 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Because it's a small intake. It's like 40 people.
Yeah.
And when everyone was awesome. Like everyone who performed, I was like, oh God, how am I ever going to be up to your level? Like I think you have to have a certain self-assurance and confidence to go through uni and like survive, because it's really quite challenging. Yeah.
Do you feel like that hampered or inspired you? Or a bit of both?
I think if I went and did the course now, it would be much more inspiring than it was, because I kind of saw everyone else's how good everyone else was, and I, instead of saying, okay, I need to lift my game and practice more, I just let it kind of defeat me a few times. And I think it was a bit of
that's a great lesson to learn at some stage in your life.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, and even I think I learned, not so much that I learnt that lesson, but I observed when I was in my teens. So we had a high school rock band. It was myself and another guitar player and a drummer, and our bass player was actually out of school by then. But our singer was maybe a year or two older than us. And we got "You guys are awesome for your age" thing.
Yeah.
Right. And luckily what that did is it put us around guys who were incredible for any age.
Yeah.
In the other bands around towns. So, but what would happen is that we would be maybe the support act, and then we'd stand off to the side and kind of watch the band, and then the incredible band was on next.
Yeah.
And some adult would say, don't they just make you, think about giving up, when someone's good? And it was hearing that, just that it never crossed my mind to ever do anything but go home to practice.
Yeah. Yep.
So what I learnt as a teenager was pretty much what you learn when you were at uni or after uni, and reflecting on it was like, no, that's all the more reason. That's inspiring.
Exactly. And it should be.
Not what's the word? Deterrent, not a deterrent.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And it's hard to get out of. Like, it took me years and I think it came from as well because I did gymnastics. It was very competitive.
Yeah.
Like, you're always thinking you have to be better than this person. You have to be the best. And like in music, it's not the same, because how do you judge this person is better than this person? Like, it's very, very...
I hate music awards.
Yes, me too.
I hate the idea. Yeah. I mean, I like... I don't hate music awards in the sense of... I like the idea that people get acknowledged for having something good. But I was even saying this the other day, like, for me, it should be favourite.
Yeah.
And it should be publicly voted. Right? So, like, this is the favourite... This is... the favourite album of the year.
Yeah.
Not the best album of the year, because I've got ears.
Yeah.
And I very rarely ever agree with anyone's assessment of what the best album of the year or the best new artist is. Yep. It's just like, actually, I do this all the time with cushions and stuff like that. I just sit on the couch and I've got something. So, also, by the way, just for anyone who's listening and can't see, I have a Union Jack flagged puppy doorstop on my lap. And I don't let my dog sit on the couch, right? Because I don't think dogs should be on the couch.
Yep.
But I would really like to let my dog on the couch because I like to have
you like
stuff.
the feel.
So the fact that I've got one that looks... If I actually took a dog-looking thing home like this and let it sit on my lap, my dog would be beside himself. He'd be like, "What? You've got a real one here, man."
That's so cute.
Anyway, yeah, I don't like the competition aspect of stuff, and it concerns me greatly that we turn like the TV shows and things like. I understand that you can put professional sport on television and be about winning, not just about that, about participation, all the other things that go with it, right? But other things that are creative pursuits end up like Estedford's Battle of the Bands, which of course I've been in, but the fact that saying gymnastics and how much about that is learning to choreograph something that works, and then someone decides whether you're the best at it or not, and it becomes competitive. It's like, and I love competition. I think competition is really important, but it becomes
like healthy competition, not if you don't win this, you have failed.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you have to, like being a musician, you have to learn how to obviously deal with criticism and stuff. Like when, this was how long ago now? 3 years ago. So when Simon started the open mic in Morty Alec. Yeah. So when I first went there, so I'd never performed solo before. That was the first time that I'd played guitar and sang, and it was a very eye-opening experience, and it led me to a lot of things. But I got to the stage where I was comparing myself to everyone who played before me and after me and think, oh, this person complimented for this. Why didn't they say that to me? And like, it's the most stupid thing that I look back on it now, but at the time it was really like, why am I doing this? Like,
wow.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, that's really... I wonder about that with even with myself. Like, so I've ended up being a solo artist when it comes to my original music, almost entirely because circumstantially it's so hard to get a band together. Like, I've tried to do bands and they're really hard to organise.
Yeah.
but also I always wanted to make music with other people and be the guitar player and then be the guy on the side that sang a harmony.
Yeah.
But I've never wanted to become the guy who wrote the songs and sang them. Like I didn't want to be by myself all the time.
Yeah.
Because my experience with music has always been, in my early ages, making stuff with other people, and I love doing band gigs or duo gigs or trio gigs because there's this thing about making something in the moment with someone else that you could never come up with by yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And I quite like doing my solo gigs, and doing a solo gig enables me to be a full-time musician.
Yep.
And to not have to have another job. But it is different. It is really different and not as enjoyable.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of that, to link that into competition, is that when you play with someone else, they just kind of egg you on a bit to contribute or to lift it or to try and add something. Now my ego is not wrapped up in trying to be better than whoever I'm with, because the reality is everyone I play with can do quite a number of things better than I can.
Yeah.
But also the reality is that everyone I play with, I can do some things better than they
Exactly.
can. So if you focus on how do we bring those things together to make something better and make it less competitive.
And it's an awesome thing when that happens. It's amazing.
Yeah, you would get that. I mean, you'd probably do mostly solo, but you play with Simon and other people.
Yep. And it's so much fun. Like the difference between, like, same thing. Solo gigs are awesome. Like they're awesome fun, but there's some parts, like in your breaks, you're always by yourself and you're just like chilling, eating some food or whatever. It's a lot of fun doing some duo gigs.
I'm always on my laptop editing video for podcasts.
Yeah, for this.
In set breaks.
Yeah.
Even get that story of starting 2 years later.
Yeah.
Right. Meant that, so when I was your age, when you started, so by the time I was 14, that's when I started jamming with other people, like someone would come over and I'd play rhythm guitar in the bedroom and Ivan would do solos. And I would say, what's that?
Yeah.
Right. So by the time I started gigging by myself, I had years of doing gigs in a band.
Yeah.
So
I wish I had that, because like it's getting worse and worse now, because I teach one-on-one some of the time, and I don't know, I don't really know of any kids who get together and maybe a few that get together and jam, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, okay. I think it is a big part of it's something I observed when I was doing that teaching degree. The disconnect between the classroom music teacher and the kids who played in a band. Like they were doing a group music project, and it was a guitar player, bass player, and a drummer, but the music teacher was a piano player who'd only ever done classical piano and maybe had been an accompanist to singers and whatnot. But just the idea of wanting to be in a band and making noise with other people, just kind of like something that can connect to.
Yep.
Which is quite interesting to have the conversation with the teacher about how do you relate to the kids, and then the teacher saying, "What do you mean?" and me explaining that, and they're just like, "Oh, I don't really understand why they would want to do that." Like, whoa, but you are the teacher.
Yeah.
So
you have to be able, like as a teacher, you have to be able to adapt to everyone's kind of needs.
And understand their motivation for being there and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you find that as a teacher, so how many students do you have?
About 40 one-on-one, and then because I teach from home as well.
Yeah.
And then I have 7 groups at school. 7, yes.
Right. So that's
it's a lot of names to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you find that what percentage would you say they're like totally into it and they want to play guitar, and others are like, Mum and Dad said I should play an instrument and I don't like to play the flute?
At the moment, this is excluding groups, because the groups are compulsory at the school, so you're always going to get people who don't want to, which is fine. One-on-one though, it's pretty high percentage that want to.
Yeah,
which
but
is
by the time
good.
they're actually coming to your house,
they're
pretty focused.
Yeah. So most at the moment, it's good that most of them are really, really quite into it, and they all have their different interests and, So I'd say most a high percentage. Yeah.
Great. Can I ask you some questions about performing live?
Yes.
Right. The one I had where I said, I'm going to ask you about this.
Yes. Oh, that was...
Right.
Oh, I've forgotten about that already.
You don't actually, to be fair, you don't know if this is actually that question.
Oh, yeah.
I could
true.
be just...
You could just be...
I could just be using an interviewing technique.
Yeah.
But this is actually the question.
Okay.
So I hope you believe me.
Okay.
So, with repertoire, because I think that's what we were talking about. Mm-hmm. So you're in your mid-20s, right? So you end up playing in all kinds of venues, public venues, bars, cafes, pubs, and do we just get a...
Yeah, what was that?
Cool.
Oh, wow.
Do you have solar power in this place?
No.
I thought maybe it was like the sun went behind the cloud and the power in the house went... Zoom.
Maybe it's because we've turned the aircon on after...
Oh, yeah.
I think this is maybe the first time we've used aircon in a few months. Maybe it's just like, what is happening?
I just tell everyone, actually, I turned into Emma's street and went, oh, she must live in that house. And doesn't. You don't live in the house I thought you did. Because 3 years ago, I sold a guitar to someone and he said, I live in this area. I said, mate, I'm driving past on my way home. I'll drop it off. So I sold a guitar to someone who lives in your street.
I wonder who it is.
That isn't someone you're related with, because that's also,
Yeah, because we have about 10 guitars in this house. It's interesting that it's not. It didn't come to this house. Yeah.
And it's not the green thin line Telecaster I sold.
No.
You don't own that.
No.
Anyway, back on track.
Yeah.
Repertoire. So the interesting question is, for me, with you, so much of the music I play at gigs comes from stuff that I could have only really known, right, because I got exposed to it as a kid. It charted, it was in my parents' record collection.
Yep.
And so when I say so much of what I play is because so much of what I get requested is stuff that was big from the mid-70s to the 90s.
Yeah.
And particularly the one thing I notice now is particularly because there are no, what I would say, young people at gigs. When I say young people, like you fall into that, it's not a lot of people 25 and under who are at bars and pubs. They socialise in different ways these days. And so, I get asked for stuff that was popular in the 80s, which is like kind of before you were around. And so, and because I'm a music, even if I don't really know how to play it, I'm familiar with it, so I can, I can hear the chord progression, so I can make it up. And if I vaguely know the lyric, I can have a crack.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, my friend Andy Pobjoy on the last episode I recorded, I will say to people, I've never played this, but I think I could probably do a bit of a job. And people cut you a ton of slack.
Yeah.
It's a really long way around asking a question. How is it for you? Because I imagine, given that scenario, you get requested a lot of stuff that you go, I've never heard of that. And there were people go, what? Like, what? Because of course, in their mind, that's exactly what people who play in bars play.
Yes, yeah.
Excuse me.
Hello, musical.
So how's that go? How do you find being someone playing in that environment and being young and kind of establishing yourself? And do you literally go, let me write that down, I'm going to go home and listen to it and learn it? Or?
Funny you should say this. So a lot of the time when, if I've been playing a gig, people will come up to me in my breaks and will say, I'm surprised that you know that song.
Because you do play those songs.
Yeah, I do. I very, very rarely, I just don't connect with anything current very much.
Oh, well, we don't. I mean, the only thing we ever get asked for that's current really is
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
Or Pink.
Yeah. Oh, I should learn a Pink song.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran or Pink. But otherwise, and I find a lot of music at the moment, like Sam and I saw Bohemian Rhapsody the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And Killer Queen's one of my favourite songs. Yeah. And I was looking it up on Spotify the other day and I saw that 5 Seconds of Summer have covered it in a dance version. So it's, I don't know. And then someone did the same with Pretty Young Thing, Michael Jackson. Yeah. They did a remake and it's pretty much identical.
Yeah.
So they're kind of going back to that sort of music as well. But yeah, I very rarely play music that's current because I don't connect with it. I can't because there's not much. I don't want to say.
No, you can.
Like there's
go
not
for it.
enough there's not enough material in it for me to replicate it well enough on a guitar, just with my voice.
Well,
as well.
so much of the last 5 years, the music has been like the chorus is actually an instrumental section. Like the dance music.
Yes, and it's just like a synth. Cool. Yes.
That's the main tag.
Yep.
Yeah. So I completely. What was that word? Like that song actually has a vocal chorus. Wake me up when it's over.
Yes, that's what it's called. Wake me up.
But the riff is the actual chorus.
Exactly. The drop is the
the drop.
The drop.
Oh, see, I wouldn't even know the lingo, man. Gee whiz. Okay, so your repertoire is really informed by the environment that you play in anyway.
Yeah, but like regardless of the ages of people there, everyone loves Fleetwood Mac. Most people love the Eagles. There are some people I know who don't like the Eagles, but I love the Eagles.
Yeah.
Most people and people my age as well that come up to me, like a lot of people I know my age love that sort of music as well. So they say, "Oh, I love your repertoire."
Can't deny a great song.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like doesn't matter when it was written, a great song's a great song.
Yep.
And it works everywhere.
Yeah, I guess a lot of that stuff is cross-generational and it's ubiquitous because you hear, I mean, even the fact that Go Your Own Way it's on whatever it is.
That
car ad.
Isuzu?
Yeah, some car ad. Yeah.
Yep.
And so just people know stuff like that.
Yeah.
What is it like? You're not a shouty singer.
No.
And you're not a heavy-handed guitar player.
No.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean by like you're not a basher.
Nah.
And you're not you're nuanced. Whereas like I guess I'm a basher. I'm two types of guitar player. I'm a bashing strummer.
Yeah.
Right, and then when it comes to soloing, I'm a soloer.
Yeah.
But I'm not much in between.
Yeah. Like when I need to like third set songs, I'll do that.
Yeah.
If the vibe's there. But only if the vibe's there. If it's not, then I'll just stay relaxed and chill.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you find too that I was even talking to Simon briefly on the phone. It was really cute actually. He left me a message. So I've got a few things I want to talk to you about. Right, which always like makes me feel like maybe I'm in trouble for something.
Yes,
like,
it's the worst thing to hear.
No reason to feel that way.
Yes.
Just if anyone wants to be serious with me, like, so I rang him back, and of course the few things he wanted to talk to me about would not. I wasn't in trouble at all.
Yeah.
And one of them was let's get together, have lunch. Mm-hmm. But he said that the gigs that he's got lined up over the next month, there's nothing past 10 o'clock. He's finished.
Yeah.
So even. Do you even book gigs with the idea of when the gig is? I mean, will you avoid a 2 a.m. finish kind of vibe?
I don't think I've ever done a 2 a.m. finish.
Right.
What's the latest?
So,
I don't avoid those. I rarely get asked to do gigs like that. But if it's like booked long enough in advance, I'd probably learn a few more kind of upbeat stuff and things like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but most of my gigs will finish before 10.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I kind of also...
Most of mine don't start till 10.
Man, I don't know how you do it. But I kind of... Less so about repertoire, but also I don't want to be... Because by 10 p.m, people are hammered. By 7 p.m, sometimes people are hammered. And I don't want to
What's that phrase? Nothing good happens after one?
Yes, How I Met Your Mother. Well, it's probably referenced from something
was it?
on How I Met Your Mother. So I don't really want to be around that. And I don't want to be home that late as well. But, sometimes a gig has to finish late, which is fine.
Yeah, it's interesting how two things there. How often circumstantially whatever you tend to do, you continue to do. Like I said, even like for me, like I've always played gigs that finished after midnight.
Yep.
Since I was in high school.
Yep.
Like that's how when I was I filled in for a cover band when I was in year 11. I was like, well, yeah. So I've just always done that.
Yeah.
I used to work at the cinema, and our shifts used to finish at 12:31. So I've always kind of had that brain.
Yep.
That we're not just used to it. It's just like it seems like that's been this perpetual kind of sequence of I just end up doing stuff that does that.
Yeah.
And so even you just said I very rarely do a gig that finishes after 10, which means somehow somewhere you get offered that work,
Yeah.
or you seek it, and they come together.
Yeah.
Which sort of alludes back to even what in one of the early episodes this I did with Brooke Taylor, and she's saying like what you put out into the universe comes back to you.
Yes, so true. I resonated with that a lot.
Yeah. And well, I thought I've noticed that in these conversations, there's kind of right, so that is a thing. Like actually,
Yeah.
continuing on a path. What I like to say to people is like I feel like a lot of us creative people and musicians we're all on the same freeway, but we're in different lanes.
Yes.
And we're in some are behind and some are ahead.
Yep.
Right. And so we can all relate to each other's thing, but we're in our own bus.
Yes, absolutely. Like a lot of musicians I know they'll play gigs and they'll teach, but everyone's thing is very different. Even if it's like how do I explain this? Like no two musicians' life is the same.
No.
In like work-wise, like everyone's teaching a bit here and there, gigging a bit here. Sometimes they're doing band gigs, sometimes solo, sometimes whatever. Yeah. It's all very different.
Like a lot of people have 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But even in 9 to 5, no one does the same job.
Yeah.
Like it's always subtly different.
Yeah.
But we don't even have the 9 to 5
Exactly.
similarity where we can,
Yep. Absolutely.
So let me ask, we just talked about the gigging thing. So let's have a chat briefly about creative-wise, about songwriting and whatnot, because I know that that's something you do.
Not so much lately.
Yeah, well...
But I have reasons. I'm making reasons.
Right.
So when did I start writing? I think halfway through my uni course, through the bachelor, I started writing then. Not very much, just little like songs here and there, not a whole lot. Then, so quick timeline. So 3 years of VCA.
Yes.
Finished that. Then I auditioned for my Masters of Music Teaching that year that I finished. So then I got into that course and I did the year. So it's a 1.5-year course, but I did the first year full time. Then during that year, the open mic started. So during the first year of my Masters, I wasn't really doing much playing. I was only really teaching from home and at a few different studios, but I wasn't really gigging. And so
you were studying.
Studying and teaching, but no gigs. And I think I got to a point where I was like, what am I going to do? I sort of felt like I was missing something. So then someone told me about this open mic, and I got, I think, 5 songs together, singing and playing, which I hadn't ever done before solo. So, and this kind of is relating back to what Brooke said about what you put out, whatever. So got those songs together. I performed that night. That's when I met Simon. That's also when I met Simon Phillips.
Oh, right,
and he got me my first gig, which was 2 weeks after that. I had to prepare 3 hours of material. I had no PA.
Nothing like a deadline.
It was, and it was just like, okay, it was, the gig was a nightmare because I had my folder of lyrics and stuff, and somehow I got through it. And then also the first time I saw Simon Imrie perform, I was like, okay, that's what I want to kind of do, because I'd never seen someone perform I love John Mayer, and so does he. That kind of music solo, and it was just blew my mind.
Brilliantly.
And from that night, and then I started playing at Side Street, and then I got all these other gigs, and it just kind of kept building from that. So from that point is when everything kind of started to happen. When before that, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do as much. Because through uni, it was only ever jazz gigs in a band where the audience are all musicians and they're all critiquing you, and it's a really weird environment. But
it's so strange.
It's so unrealistic. Anyway, but yeah.
Cool. So that's when you started writing.
Sorry, yes, that's what we were getting back to.
Yeah.
So I started writing when the open mic started, because I was hearing everyone else doing their original songs.
Something else. You thought, maybe I can do something too.
And the first time I performed, I did play an original, one of the first songs that I'd written. And then during that first year, I wrote more, and then I performed them. But then it kind of dropped. So after I did my first year of Masters, then I took a year off study. Then I came back to study to finish it off.
I think when you and I met 2 and a bit years ago, you were on sabbatical.
Yes.
You were like, well, I've got a few things left to do, a few subjects left to do. but I haven't re-enrolled yet. I don't know when I'm
Yes.
going to do it.
Yes, yeah. That is when we, yeah. So throughout that time I was writing. And then, I don't know, then I started teaching more and gigging more, and I kind of wasn't prioritizing writing as much. And especially this year when I started teaching at the school,
Yeah.
because I've never worked this many hours before.
Of course.
And because I have residency gigs now as well, so there's heaps of time that's taken up by work, which is like, this is real life. So I'm not really prioritizing writing as much as I want to be, as much as I should be, according to me. Not should be, but you know.
It's really natural. Look, at just as an observation from my history of being someone who's always played, whether I've always done cover gigs, but always for the last 20 odd years. And in and around that, I've done original music, sometimes like with incredible focus and tenacity, and other times not at all.
Yes, yeah.
But up until 4 years ago, I always had a job as well. And sometimes, for a lot of that time, I've had like a relationship.
Yeah.
And so my observation is, and sometimes some of those jobs have been teaching guitar. The times that I taught guitar and gigged, I never wrote a piece of music.
Yeah, right.
Because that instrument that I wrote with was in my hand all the time.
All the time, yeah.
So after 6-7 hours of teaching during the day, I was not picking up the guitar.
Yeah.
Other than to be at a gig, right? It was like I needed a break from it.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, perhaps different to you is that writing songs and being an original project of some kind, or having my own original project of some type, had been a really big part of getting me into being a musician anyway. So I don't think if I hadn't have been for my high school band, I probably still wouldn't be playing.
Yeah,
You know, that was this thing of like making music with
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
and making music for, learning how to express my way through a problem in my life
Yes.
really young
Yeah.
is really helpful. It sounds like even starting a few years later, but even getting to having almost finished a tertiary music degree by the time you started writing songs means that you probably acquired a bunch of skills that didn't require you to be
Yes.
a songwriter
Yeah.
to deal with those kind of things. That, of course, that's my mechanism. It's
Yeah.
different for someone who's not done that.
Yeah.
So it does make sense to me when you say, even though you're kind of expressing yourself in that point of going, I'm not giving it as much time as I'd like to, but the reality is the guitar is in your hands
It is.
every day.
Yeah. But I don't really, like, I've been through times like that where I finished teaching, I'm like, I don't want to see this again until I absolutely have to. At the moment, I'm not really not sick of it, but I'm just...
I don't think it's a conscious thing though. Like with me,
Yeah.
like I wasn't sitting there. I never was like, fucking hate this thing. I never want to see it again until I have to go to work tomorrow. But it just made sense that, it makes sense that once you professionalize something that is like that, it's hard to find a way back to it simply for joy or expression. It's not that you don't enjoy what you do. Like, I love playing guitar, and I love, like, I'm not a singer, but I love singing. Right? I still see myself as a guitar player. I really enjoy singing, so I enjoy going off to do the gigs. And it just so happens that because I have a relatively decent balance in my life at the moment, that I can spend time being creative as well.
Yeah.
But it's also that being creative is an essential part of my processing things that I find difficult.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, when life's good, I don't write as much. Right now, life's great, and I'm happy and everything. And but there are still things that I would like to write about. Like, I still have, like, I have a little journal that sometimes I'll just write, sentences
Well, even that
in.
as an idea of having a journal is a great
and voice
mechanism.
memos all the time. And like the other day, might sound a little bit lame, but I was waiting for a student, and there was this bird, and it was just repetitive, like it just kept singing this beautiful melody, and I'm like, I've got to record this. So one day maybe that'll turn into something. But it was just like little things like that. So I think it's just finding then the time to sit down and be like, okay, I've got these ideas now, let's make a song out of it, or make something out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as well, when I was at uni and especially my bachelor, when I was letting everyone else, I was letting how good they were affect me as a musician, I kind of stopped practicing as much. I stopped being creative because I was so worried about what other people would think.
Yeah, okay.
And that was literally just stopping me from writing because I was like, I'm writing something that's like automatically judging, be like writing a sentence. No, that sucks,
If I can relate, and I've forgive anyone who's heard any of these other episodes I've done because I have told a version of this story before, but so I haven't told this exact version of it, so stay tuned.
Oh.
I came back from overseas in 2016, and within, I think, about 2 weeks, I ended up at Simon's gig at the retreat, which is the night I met you.
Yes.
And you had a cold, and you were concerned about a gig. I remember meeting you because there wasn't many of us there.
No.
And I obviously knew Simon, and we shook hands, and then you're like, oh, that guy must know Simon. So you came over and we had a chat, and you were drinking tea because you were worried about your voice. Anyway, the point I'm making there is within a month and a bit of that, I did Songs in the South with Simon and Simon.
Yep.
And I brought in a bunch of songs that nobody had ever heard. I never played in front of anyone. And as I explained to people before on this show, that for the previous almost 15 years, I showed every idea I had to my now ex-partner. And she was kind of my sounding board of, that's good, that needs a bit of work. And I had a real process of workshopping my ideas. But these songs no one had ever heard. And I was terrified because I didn't, in my own little world, I couldn't have any idea of whether they were finished or they were good or what it was about them that was worth listening to. And I realized that that's a process I'd always had. And so it's interesting to me when you say, like, you compare your stuff, maybe you didn't have the confidence as much to create because you were surrounded by all these super creative people who were making, great stuff. There's another aspect of it for me is tied into that is when you are surrounded by people who make good stuff, you're acutely aware of what great stuff is.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And so it's very hard to be objective about what you create and how it compares. The reality of that is that it doesn't really matter how it compares. Like, if you want to do it, you should just do it.
Absolutely.
But there is something about wanting to make something that also compares to your ability on your instrument. So there's this, it's like, I'm a competent guitar player. I want my songs to be at the level of which people can see that I can play guitar. So the challenge there is to go, do I make something intricate and wanky, or do I write a nice song? Can I do both? Is that something? And you see, the more you know about a subject matter, I guess the like more acutely aware you are of where it stands compared to other stuff. And your ego is like, can I let that out? Am I happy for other people to do that? And most people won't do it. Most people won't actually go, for a good guitar player, she plays 4 chords. They'll actually just kind of listen to the song.
I find that really hard. That's another reason why I haven't been writing that much, is because the songs that I've written, the songs that you've heard me, that gig, you heard me that gig when I was really sick. I had no voice and it was the huskiest I've ever sounded. But those songs that I've written, apart from maybe one, were a creation of the environment that I was in, because I was at the open mic, and most people would perform their originals would be not pop songs, but 4-chord kind of songs. When I had a jazz background, and I was writing songs, and because I was playing on an acoustic guitar as well, that's what because I heard people doing it, so I'm like, okay, I'll write songs that are similar to that. But the songs I want to write are more like I love Hiatus Coyote. They're one of my, do you know them?
I don't know.
They're, I think it's neo soul.
Okay.
That kind of style, I'm love. So that's the kind of music I want to write, which is when I do get back into writing, what I want to be doing. But yeah, that's another thing that stopped me from. I just kind of looked at my songs earlier this year, and I was like, it's not what I want to. That's not what I want to sound like. I want to do something a bit different.
Yeah, that's a tricky one too, because I find that I sometimes have an idea of what I want something to be, and then, but is that does that align with what I am at this moment?
Yeah, yeah.
And that too is a tricky question for someone who wants to create something. It's a tricky question to answer because you go, well, that's what I want to. I like to be able to create that. It's like, yeah, but none of my life supports it, or my life supports this kind of concept.
Do you know, actually, that's an interesting point that you raised, because it's very easy for me to say, oh, I don't want to release those songs or anything because it's not what I am at the moment. But I was watching an interview with Lady Gaga because of the Star is Born movie, Star is Born movie, which is incredible. But there's an interview where someone asks her, do you regret anything that you've released, any song? And she said, no, because that's what I was at that point in time.
Yeah.
That's what I was, that was going on in my life. And I wrote about that. So I shouldn't regret that because it's just what was going on at the time. And so I kind of, I don't know.
That's a real question from an external question about observing career as opposed to being the person who's doing the creating. And that movie in itself, if anyone's watched it, is really interesting in how, you know, it's effectively like a story about staying true to who you are.
Yes, yeah.
And both of the main characters in that stray from the truth of who they are and have huge troubles along the way. That's do you know what I said to you before this? Like usually what happens is about an hour in, someone brings up something and I get stuck on the philosophical self-reflection of the thing. And that, I think we're at that point, and I know we're well over an hour and 14.
Already?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's how this works.
Jeez.
It's the nature of having these kind of chats, is that they're kind of, to us, and even, well, I'm assuming to listen. No, to us, we might feel like we're tangenting.
Yeah.
But that's the nature. That's actually the nature of focused conversation, I think, is when you kind of go, oh, we're there, and that's that idea, and that's that idea. And I find these things really good for that.
And there's so much more we could talk about. I could stay here for another 10 hours.
Every time I've had one of these chats with someone, we've gone, A, is that already an hour?
Yeah.
And B, it's like, we can't wait to do the next chat.
Because I could think of 100 more things. Yeah.
What is interesting about this kind of format, as opposed to how we usually see an interview, is interviews are super curated. They're people who are journalists, I guess, and maybe not working in the same kind of realms, but they're interviews, and now like it might be designed to be read in a magazine or something like that.
Yeah.
So then when you see them or you read them, you're like, I can see how that's curated and to be that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I almost find reading an interview in a magazine or something like that, like, I'm not interested anymore because I've read a million interviews.
Exactly. And they all ask the same questions.
Quite often, particularly if it's for a press junket of a release of a film or the release of an album or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe as well, that's really handy for a musician or an actor, because maybe they're really good at making the music and really good at making the movie, but they're not great at having a chat about stuff.
Absolutely.
So I'm not judging, and I imagine there's a whole bunch of reasons why something works and something doesn't. But this kind of thing, to participate in it, at least from my side, and I certainly don't speak for anyone else, but the feedback is, like, you can explore a bunch of ideas, and it's really interesting thing to do once you press record and put some cameras on, because that's not a way that you usually have a conversation about things you're interested in.
Yep. It's very rare to have a conversation like this.
Yeah. And it's why, like I've said to a lot of people, and, you know, a year and a half ago when I started a podcast with my best friend Matt, that's what I found about it. It's like, I see Matt a couple of times a week. We gig together all the time. He's been my best friend for 17 years, and we've never had this kind of conversation, because it's the format that makes you kind of consider things differently and like explore an idea in a way that, because you're not getting distracted by your phone.
Yes.
Or I mean, if you are, it's because you accidentally left it on loud. And then you go, all right, back to the topic.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's why I say to everyone, you should start your own podcast.
Yeah.
Because you get to have really cool conversations with people that you know you're going to have a cool conversation with.
Yeah.
But that stuff always comes up that you don't know would.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're never in that environment.
Yeah, and like all these things that we've spoken about, I've thought about them, but it's very rare that I actually get to verbalize it. And then verbalizing it is completely different, because I'm one of those people where if there's something that I want to say and it's in my head and I've got it like not scripted, but it's very clear what I want to say, and I go to say it and it's just gone.
And
It's
also,
really weird.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
The other thing that's good about this, I found for me, but also to hear people talk about their own experience, is that I guess it aligns with what you just said. You might have an idea about your own experience, but because that's never actually been put into words in that environment in that way, you're like, oh, actually, I haven't thought about it like that.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about it like this. That's how I think about it.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to be able to hear someone, like even you went for like a few minutes there, you said, just here's a timeline for you. Like I went to VCA, I did this, and then I started going to open mic night.
Yeah.
It's sometimes, it's like hearing someone all like really connect with their history of how something came about.
Yeah, because very rarely, really,
don't
unless
do
you're writing a resume, which you do how often?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even that is a contrivance of like I'm doing this so I can get a job.
Yes, yeah.
Right, or
yeah.
I'm doing this for this, but this is, I'm doing this to clarify to you the story arc
Yeah. Yeah.
of how I
my
got
life.
here. And
Yes.
It's like, it's great. It's
Yeah.
really, really cool.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is really enjoyable experience. And so with that, I would say thank you for being part of this episode.
Thank you for having me.
And once you start saying episode, but yeah, thank you for a lovely conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Once again, there are nuggets of wisdom in these conversations that I found have been really good for me. So
No, I think it's awesome what you're doing. It's
Thanks.
such a great idea. I haven't watched all of them yet, but how many have been out at the moment?
so we're up to 7 is
Crazy.
out. So next week is 8, and that will be with will have already been with.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to talk
It's like
that.
Inception.
Yeah. It will have already been with Jacinta Carolina, who is in a wedding band that I play with, and she's a female singer, of course. She's a singer, and her husband is a musician,
Yep.
and they've got a little baby,
Musician
sort of-
couples.
Yeah.
That's the next thing.
Not for me.
Not you.
No. I'm done. I've like this. Yeah, I mean, by the way, never mind. We'll talk about my relationship off camera. But anyway, Emma, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I will speak to you again soon. Actually, on Tuesday when we all go out for lunch.
Woohoo! Cup day.
Bye, everybody. Oh, here we go. All right. So I'm going to say something, and you're going to say it's a cracker.
Okay.
Right, because Simon came up with that as a pun, right, and I'd actually pressed stop, like, so it didn't get recorded.
Okay.
Right, so the way I sign off from these things, I say, salada biscuit.
It's a cracker. Okay. Okay, do it again.
All right, salada biscuit.
It's a cracker.
Poor Simon, it was such a good pun, and I didn't
Oh,
record it.
that is hilarious.
And now that's how Matt signs off on our podcast.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he's a pun king.
He
You're
is
Simon.
the pun king. You
All right,
both.
we are going now. Bye.
Bye.